ladies and gentlemen, is football.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Total A-Leagues. I'm Vince Rugari. I'm stuck with Daniel McBreen for another week. Hopefully the last one, Macca.
Sorry,
can't stand the side of you, but that's okay.
Sorry.
No, all good. Good to have you here, mate. Lots to talk about. Sydney FC keep losing. So do Perth Glory, for that matter. And there's a fair bit to talk about with Brisbane Roar as well and the way they got their draw on the weekend. Yep. We'll get into that very shortly. But first, Macca, another good guest.
Yes.
Adelaide United assistant coach Mark Milligan comes to us straight from what appears to be Playford Central, the club's headquarters there. Millsy, how are you, mate?
Not too bad. Thank you for having me.
No, our pleasure. Congratulations on, I guess, the club's fantastic start so far, Millsy. Only undefeated team in the league aside from Auckland FC. Not sure how many people outside of the club saw that coming, given sort of some of the outgoings you had over the summer. You guys must be absolutely thrilled with, I guess, the way things have started for you.
Yeah, obviously we had quite a few changes, but I think it was all there was with a plan in mind. I guess a little bit of a change way that we went about things. So I think that's obviously very, very important. It wasn't just about sort of clearing decks. It was about heading in a certain direction, and we have a very, very long pre-season, which obviously is difficult, but definitely helped us, to implement a lot of things. And look, early days, it's bearing fruit, but as I said, it is very early days, and this is very much, a process and a journey that we're on with this current squad.
Millsy, Adelaide are renowned for bringing through young players, lots of young players, but it's important to get that balance right with a few senior players in there. One of the key problem areas has been the two centre-backs pairing. It's chopped and changed. How important has Bart Vrenz coming in at the back there to play along Kikianis, who's been fantastic? How important has that been, and how much is that helping Kikianis to grow his game?
Yeah, massively. Obviously, Bart comes with a great deal of experience and, quite a strong resume. So that was always sort of the hope that, bringing in a player like Bart will be able to guide not only Panna, but, a few other young centre-backs that we have, like Fazo, who's in the youth team as well. And, we have quite a few young defenders, even around the young right-back in Mal. And so it was very important that the club sort of got that right, because it has been a little bit of an inconsistent area for us. Like you said, we've had to sort of find a lot of different solutions, especially over the last few years, and that consistency in having someone of Bart's, pedigree, as you said, is massive. We have high hopes for players like Panna, and I think he's come a long way at the start of this season. Obviously, we saw glimpses of it last year, but there's a number of factors that add to that, including being fit and him learning about his body and things like that as well. But as you say, to have someone like Bart there and guiding you, I know how important it was for me as a player to have those players around, and it's we're fortunate at the moment in terms of being able to keep that regular back four intact.
Millsy, the other end of the pitch, you got Archie Goodwin playing up front, who speaking of glimpses of Panna Kikianis over the years, we've seen glimpses of Archie as well, but his body sort of let him down a little bit in the past when he was playing for the Jets. It looks like he has really enjoyed joining Adelaide United so far. He's talked a lot about the club and the atmosphere at Coopers as well, and how much he's enjoying it. How much potential do you see in him as a footballer, from the short time you've had working with him so far?
Yeah, well, obviously, we've been watching Archie from a distance for quite a while now, and I think very early on, it was quite evident, the ability that he possessed, and he has been a little bit unfortunate over the last few years in terms of injuries and things like that, and it was something that we were very conscious of, when it came up in discussions about bringing him across. We were quite thorough in sort of our examinations of him, because not only for us, but we wanted to make sure that if we were bringing him in, we wanted to do the right thing by him as well and give him every opportunity to start to fulfill his potential. So that helped us a lot in terms of we were able to take our time. We knew exactly what areas we had to focus on to have a fit Archie Goodwin and be able to, like I say, get him on the field regularly. And look, it's taken some time, but he has so many different attributes, I think, He's very good in and around the box. He makes, I think, as you see on the goal on the weekend, he makes some fantastic forward runs. And, we speak a lot to Archie about, the great strikers that have played in the A-League, and something that they all have in common is probably their work rate off the ball. And, you've got players like, Jamie McLaren, Bessar Barisha, they're getting 6-7 goals on their own just from the work that they do when we're not in possession. So that was an important part of the focus with Archie as well. As I said, we're very aware of what he can do when the team has the ball, but for him to focus on what he does without the ball. And I think you saw him getting his rewards for that, the team getting their rewards for that on the weekend.
Obviously, Millsy, you use my name in comparisons as well. So, looking forward to Sydney on the weekend. Do you think that the way that Sydney plays is going to suit your style, you guys? You've got that bit of a mix of youth and experience in midfield to play through, and as you say, Arch up front with the pace. Do you think it's going to work for you guys, or are you going to have to tweak a few things to get the wood over Sydney this week?
Yeah, look, they're a fantastic team. They've we speak about it a lot. The table doesn't lie, but I think at the moment they've had a heavy exposure to games early on in the season, and that's all sort of done and dusted for the moment. So they'll be looking to focus more on the league. So we're very aware of that as well. They are a very, very aggressive team. We try. We're still, like I said, we're still building. I think we're still a little way away from where we want to be. But in terms of tempo and things like that, I think it's a good match. I think it's going to be a very entertaining game. It's a good test for our young ones because Sydney are so aggressive. It's going to be a good test in terms of their conviction and their commitment to what we're doing, and it's going to be a good, marker for us to see exactly where we're at. They pose threats both with and without the ball. As I said, they're a good team, but individually they've got a lot of quality as well. So it's going to be up to us. We're at home. We want to really dictate terms with and without the ball, and I think we've shown that early on. So as I said, this will be a fantastic test for us to see where we're at, and it'll be a fantastic test for the young boys to see how much, how far they've come and how much they believe in what we're doing. And it's another step for them to take forward, and a big step it'll be if we go and we're strong in our convictions on the weekend.
Good luck for it, Millsy. We'll leave our chat there. Thanks for joining us, and all the best for the weekend and the season ahead.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Millsy.
The blend, Macca, is really important, right? Because you see, and probably some of the weaker teams in the A-League this season don't have the blend. They're just chucking kids out there, and they don't have the balance right. Whereas Kikianis there, what's happening there is exactly how you do it, don't you reckon?
Yeah, look, I also think that Adelaide, they take their time with the young players as well. They've got that nice blend of some senior players in there. So if they feel they need to pull a player back, and young players do need that at times, they can start to go, oh, well, I'm fine. But hang on, no, you're not quite fine. So they know, well, Carl Viet seems to know very, very well how to pull them back, just keep the reins a little tight to then really let them go when they really need to.
And the other important thing for Adelaide and the way they're doing what they're doing at the moment is these guys, their best young kids, Goodwin and Kikianis included, are all on long-term contracts. So the whole idea here is that they're going to cash out in hopefully 1, 2, 3 years.
100%.
All these blokes bring $1 million each into the club minimum they'd be looking at.
Yep.
That's the model.
Yep. Perfect.
That's what every club needs to do.
That's what you want. Tie them down, look after them, back them, and then everyone's happy in the end.
That's it. Well, Adelaide's showing the way, which is fantastic. I can't wait for that one on Friday night, mate. Feet up on the couch, aircon on. Probably.
Well, just the way that both teams are just so high octane, they go. It's going to be a real humdinger. Can't wait.
That's it. Macca, the big news in the league at the moment, absolutely shocking actually. Patrick Kisnorbo, no longer coach of Melbourne Victory, stepping away to pursue an overseas opportunity after just 7 games in charge of Melbourne Victory is, wow, first of all. The first thing I think of actually is that he had just gotten past the period with Melbourne Victory fans where they had accepted him as their coach despite his history with Melbourne City. They'd just gotten over that. Mm-hmm. And now he leaves them this early in the season. I don't think a coach has left a club this early in the season. I could be wrong here, but since...
Of their own volition?
Of their own volition, since Popper, but that was before the season had even started. So this is like close to unprecedented, I would imagine, in the league. Where does this leave Victory, who have started the season really well?
Yeah. Well, you said it. We both, when we heard the news, was, wow, that's come out of left field. Look, it's A huge one. He's such an influential figure as a head coach as well. It's not like, they're going to have to go find another big coach to fill his boots because of the way he is, his big personality, the way he drives the team. I'm actually shocked because we've only just found this news out now. But yeah, look, for the squad, now what do? He's brought players in. We saw the fact Bruno Fornaroli hasn't been really getting much run. He's probably sitting there high-fiving at home. Maybe he's high-fiving his family going, I've got a chance to get back in. But this is huge news and leading into a derby against his old team.
Not just the derby as well. This is like the Christmas derby is the one.
D1.
They love this one.
Yeah.
Everyone turns up with the Santa hats. It's awesome. And to leave, so,
So
a few days out from the derby.
So let's just say that if he wasn't such a big, strong character, he probably would watch where he walked through Melbourne from now on because, like you say, he was just getting over that, he's the old City coach, to now he's going to be hated more than he could ever have been hated. Look, it's got to be either a really good opportunity career-wise or it's been an offer that you would think that is too good financially for his family to refuse.
It leaves Victory in a really, needless to say, a really difficult position. Yeah. Arthur Dillers will take charge in the derby, but then the other thing is you would say there are some free agents available, Australian coaches, but there's not anymore. They're all falling into place. Arthur Papas is about to start a new club in Cerezo in Osaka in Japan, I believe. Pete Klimowski's just been confirmed as coach of Malaysia. He is a former assistant and fitness coach at Victory. Had this happened maybe a month ago, Victory might have made a big play for Klimowski, and Victory is the sort of club that is big enough that you might be able to lure one of those coaches overseas who's doing really well. They don't want to come back to Australia ideally, but they would for the right opportunity. Yeah. Victory is the right opportunity for a coach like that, but that's out.
Well, I'm going to throw one out of left field.
Go on.
He's done it all in China now. Maybe Muskie's just going to come back. He's had enough of being overseas.
That's left of left field, mate.
Obviously, I'm joking.
It'd be great.
Obviously, I'm joking there. But, look, this has just shocked me. They were doing well. You're sort of starting to see the aggressive style of play. And, like as you say, the goodwill was starting to come. Oh, yeah, this is our coach. So I'm lost for words.
What is it? I mean, advantage City, obviously, in the derby, because the first derby, a few weeks back now, 3-1, Victory won, and City looked nowhere near it, really.
Yeah.
As we'll see here, I mean, they're just cutting through them like they weren't there, to be honest, City. It was a really poor performance, but they've improved out of sight since then.
They have.
And to hear now that, your opposition team, your rivals, is going to go through this sort of instability during derby week, they've got to be feeling more confident.
Well, you'd think so, yeah. Look, they're starting to play really well, and their foreigners are starting to get into the groove of their Australian football and their teammates and those combinations. And I think Vidi will be just saying to his team, we're going to just keep going and do what we're doing, but let's put the pressure on early. Let's get him under pressure because we know what PK's like on the sideline too. Like, he's so vocal and drives them from there. So that's big shoes for Arthur Dillers to step into that role, to be that voice. We saw when PK left that the next coach came in wasn't quite as vocal, and you could see a drop in the way that City were. So it's going to be interesting to see how they come out in the derby. It's a big one, but yeah, big boots to fill.
This game just got, it was already a must-watch, this derby in particular, Saturday night, prime time as well, but now it's even more interesting. Macca, the City coming off a good result as well against Auckland, probably should have won. What do you think?
On first half performances, yes. They were so dominant in the first half that I think the only thing that Vidi would be worried about is that they really could have and should have, with the dominance they had, scored 2 or 3 goals. The one thing he'll be really disappointed in is that defending from set pieces, and they had a goal disallowed as well, Auckland, that was very, very similar, free header inside the 6-yard box. But second half Auckland, they really came at him. And I asked Vidi, after the game, what was the big difference? What can you see? And he just basically said, not too sure. We'll have to go and have a look at that because it was the quintessential game of 2 halves.
It was. And some, 2 moments that the goalkeepers would want to take back and never be seen again. That's how it goes sometimes, I guess. It
does. And look, goalkeepers, they, as much as we like to give them stick, they are usually at the pointy end and helping the team get out of trouble. Occasionally, like Alex Paulson, how good has he been? And then for that to happen to him, you felt a bit sorry, but he'll just come. They'll both bounce back.
Totally. Let's hear some more of what Aurelia Vidmar had to say after the game.
On the second half performance, we didn't really deserve to win the game, in my opinion. I think a draw is probably a fair result. I must say that that first half was some of the best football we played all year, and dominant enough in every aspect, apart from scoring a second goal.
Thoughts on, I guess, Viddy's assessment there and just where City are placed, really? I mean, when you think about who they've got to come back soon, not immediately, but soon, if they can be about here for the next little bit and then when the cavalry comes back, especially now that, we don't know what's going to happen with Victory, and Auckland, are going to encounter some turbulence, really, because they're going to travel and stuff. They've had a pretty easy run of it in terms of fixtures for the first.
Are you saying they're not going to be lucky anymore?
I'm saying they were very lucky. I'm saying they're going to face some challenges that they haven't faced this far, and they're going to lose Dan Hall for 2-3 months because
that's big news.
Fractured his leg. I think at training, which is don't know how you do that. And I don't want to know, but he's out. So a couple of teams that we thought were going to run away with it, Sydney FC, which we'll get onto in a moment, aren't the team or not playing like they should be probably at the moment. Is it opening up for City if they're good enough to hang in there?
Yeah. Oh, look, I don't think just even hang in there. Mehmeti, he was fantastic on the weekend. He belied his age with the way his hold-up play, the way he conducted himself in that game. Kuhn is really coming into his own. He's been an influential player for them now, and you can see him starting to feel like, all right, I'm now settled in here. I don't think they're holding in there. And then, as you say, bring back those couple of Socceroos. They'll be best placed to really give it a shake.
Yeah. Well, really looking forward to that derby, Macca. That's going to be interesting, and just a close eye on Victory, what they do, who they go for, when they go for them as well. A lot of unanswered questions. So, be watching closely. Look, the major talking point, I guess you would say, out of the weekend, aside from the results, sort of thing, is the way Brisbane Roar went about it in the second half against the Wanderers. The first half was epic. I was really enjoying that. And then the second half, it was like just a total letdown, to be honest, because the football just seemed to end. Not sure why. I mean, we can speculate why. We're about to, because there's some footage of Ruben Zakovic, the Brisbane Roar coach. We'll see it here now. In the dying minutes here, basically telling his players to go down and waste time and pretend they've got cramp or an injury or something, which I guess has set off a bit of a discussion within the game. Macca, we've spoken about this a couple of times between us, and it should probably be noted as well, a couple of things with this. One, a few of I think 3 of the Raw players who went off with had cramp actually did get subbed off. Yeah. So maybe they were injured, or maybe they're taking it all the way. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Another thing is other teams do this. Yep. Jake Holman did it on the weekend, crawled into play for Macarthur FC against Wellington.
From Rosette.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That was as blatant as that, to be honest. Yep. Sydney FC do it from time to time as well. So it's not like Brisbane Roar, the only team that do this, but with, you can't get caught. Do you know what I mean? And for a coach to be caught on camera doing like that, for me is a little bit, it's disappointing. I know it happens, but you got to just try and do it and get away with it, sort of thing.
Yeah, yes. Look,
that's one part of it.
Yes, that's one part of it.
The other part of it, which we spoke about it before, is, and people will say, this happens in football all over the world.
Yeah.
What I'll say, and what I'm pretty sure you'll say is, I don't care.
Yeah.
As an Australian football community, we often talk about what's our identity in the game. Who are we? We're still working that out, I reckon. But one thing we've figured out is that we hate that stuff.
Correct.
And no one likes it.
Yep.
And it's not just, this isn't a media beat up. You look at social media the other night when this game was on, everyone hates it. Brisbane Roar fans hate it. No one wants to see their football club be this.
Correct. And put it in context as well. You're playing against a team who was only 1 or 2 positions, I think, above you in the league. It's 7 games into the season. And I know there's been talk around Ruben, is he under pressure? Is he under pressure? What best way to go about that when we've already spoken about the side of Brisbane that we think is most positive for them is the attacking side. They have plenty of attacking players. And Brisbane fans, I think, would have preferred for them to say, right, we've got all these attacking players on the field who could do something. Let's go for it. Go for a win. And if you lose going for it, then maybe fans could go and people can go, well, do you know what? At least they went for it. They were going for the win and it didn't quite pay off, but we can see what you're trying to achieve over the long term. If this is what you're thinking is, well, let's just hang on, let's not make sure that we don't give any opportunities away and we slow the game down. Is this what fans want to see every week? And you're right. No matter where you see it in the world, and it does happen at other clubs and it does happen all over the world, when you see it, How often do we go, oh, this is one of the scourges of our game. We want it out. We want to see people...
when Asian teams do it to us,
we are
hate
high and mighty, aren't we?
Yeah.
Twitter goes nuts. Oh, here they are rolling on the ground. I'm with them. So let's not do that. Go and play. Go and win with the players you've got. Exactly.
That's the other thing. There's no relegation. And then the other thing that just for me is a little bit, more disappointing that it's Brisbane Roar here because, okay, it was 10, 12 years ago now, the Raw Salona era under Ange Postecoglou. No one expects them to keep playing that same way because obviously that's a pretty special coach, special moment. That's what happened. But I thought when they were playing that way for those few seasons, I thought maybe this is Brisbane now. Maybe this club, which had just started really a few years prior, new club looking for an identity. I thought that sort of Ange had shown them this is who we can be. You don't have to play that exact way all of the time, but that's what you should strive to. Is to be that team that, think about the way they won those grand finals, is going all the way to the end.
And that's the point for me, is that it was never giving up. No matter what the situation seemed to be, it was going for it. And I'll reiterate, we constantly keep saying what can turn Brisbane's season around. We're going, the attacking players they have, and they had most of them on the park. So that was the more disappointing thing too, is that what he had at his disposal and still went down that route.
Yeah. Well, Macca, let's talk more about the on-pitch stuff. Let's hear from Ruben Zakovic. First of all, what he had to say before the match on the weekend.
We sat down and we spoke about, it's going to take 3 windows, at least to change the fortunes of the team and the dynamics and the balance. And it's not an easy thing. The January window is one of the more difficult ones. But there will be growth and improvement for us if we play our cards right. 3
windows. Thoughts? In the A-League? 3 windows? I mean, how much transfer business does a club like Brisbane will really do in terms of you're really only signing free agents?
Well, you had 15 signings in the last window.
How many in a squad? It's about 23,
maybe a few more
So that's more than half the squad.
So more than half the squad came in. Well, 13 came in and 2 re-signed in the off-season. So if you're going to do at least 3 windows, well, we sign in 60 players, are we? Well, I really don't. That quote smacked to me of, I'm under a little bit of pressure. I need to buy. It's all about time and the process. I don't think it was. If he could go back and change time, he probably wouldn't have worded it like that or said that. Because also, if I'm a player and I'm sitting there going, hang on, I've come in, you've brought me in, or even if I was one that was there, you're now saying that I need to get better players in because my players aren't good enough. But you've signed most of them. So whose fault's that then?
Well, if you're a player, I want to know what you'd think about what Ruben said after the game, which we'll hear now.
It would be nice to be in their situation at home, bringing on Juan Mata, bringing on Antonsen, with the likes of Milanovic and Kraev, and, you're spoiled for choice, aren't you? So sometimes as a manager, you have to be there and fight with your players, and you have to help support them through difficult times, and it's a difficult time for our club. Like I said last week, not just today because we got a point, like I said last week, we'll stay very resolute in this process. I think what was very clear is there's a real togetherness with our squad, and as a club there's a lot of people behind the scenes working extremely hard in our football department, also in our admin staff, a lot of good people in our club, and we are in a challenging period and a challenging time. What's important to me is that we show the right fight and the right character, and we do whatever it takes to get through this difficult period, and I'm very proud of my players.
So how much togetherness does it foster to hear the coach basically say, I wish I had their bench?
Again, as a player, if I'm sitting there and I'm Florent Berenguer, I'm thinking, all right, so you obviously don't think too much about me. Young Brissett, who's been coming on and doing very well, positive. And I know he's young and only just starting, so you don't want to lay everything on a young player. Thomas Boniam, we've heard him, Ruben himself say this player's got a really high ceiling. There's scouts from all these big clubs looking at him. He's got, the second most goals for a teenager in the A-League history, so he's got skills there. You've got J.O. Show, who's a senior player who can get balls and open up defences. If I'm looking at that as a player, that's just reiterated what you said before. Again, you're saying, well, we're not good enough. You're saying that the other teams are better than us. So I'm looking going, well, you signed most of us and now you're saying we're not good enough. And I've seen it many times before in football where players just go, well, if we're not good enough for you, we won't play for you.
Yeah. Fair goal by Waddingham, by the way, on the weekend. I thought that was an absolutely outstanding finish, and he's continuing to grow, which is really exciting. See the highlights from the game here on the weekend, Macca. But, looking ahead, Saturday Arvo, they got Perth Glory.
Yeah.
The battle of the 2 worst teams in the competition. I think that's pretty clear by now. When you look ahead, generally speaking, though, for Brisbane Roar, it does get better. We have spoken about, okay, they had a rough draw. And when you look at who they got next, that really comes into focus. So it's Perth at home, Western United away, Central Coast Mariners at home, and then Newcastle Jets at home. So they're all very winnable games.
Well, that's pretty much, put Western Sydney, who they played on the weekend, and it's the other 5 teams who are around them at the bottom of the league. That was the other thing that when I mentioned that, it's a team that's near you in the league. It's not like you're playing against Auckland or someone who's streets ahead in the league, miles away, and you think there's no chance here. That was a game that they should have gone out and said, we can win. And if you look at that, they would be looking at that, and I would say they'd be looking, saying, we'd be looking to target 9 points from the next 12 points. And for me, that'd be the barometer. But if they don't win this weekend, that could
Game
be...
over for Ruben, do you think? To lose to this Perth Glory?
I think if it wasn't, it's got to be... it's hanging on by a thread. I can't see them not winning this weekend, though. With the attacking stocks they have and the way that Perth have been defending,
I agree.
It'll end up being a 6-5 epic.
I agree. And let's talk Perth Jets now. I mean, I told you, I don't think I said it on air last week, Macca, but I said it off air. We were debating who would win this game between Perth and Newcastle, and I thought Newcastle were a level above.
Yeah.
Didn't think they'd win 4-0 though. And I didn't think they'd do it in the way that they did, which was like way too easy. I mean, the things that are happening in Perth Glory at the moment, we're talking about a team that is historically poor in A-League terms, which is... It is what it is. It's disappointing. They are that bad at the moment.
Well, they are that bad, and I don't want to talk about the game and disrespect Newcastle because Rob Stanton asked for his players to give a response, and to be fair, he got it. They were helped by some of the poor defending, like the clearance from Kanga. You see that 8 minutes in, that's Sunday League stuff again. That should just be cleared, but. Newcastle did play well. They played good football. They showed energy, wonderful finishes, great runs. But again, they were playing against a Perth Glory team, which is rapidly becoming known as the worst team in A-League history. They don't win this weekend. They'll equal the longest unwinnable streak. And just their all-round general play has been terrible. Like the marking on these goals and it's not just the final product too, it's how it gets there. I feel sorry for Newcastle and Rob Stanton in a way because he's gone, my boys, what a response, but we're still all just talking about Perth.
Yeah.
And with good reason, we have to. Exactly.
We got to. And it's the Zrilic situation is different, I would say, to the Ruben Zakovic Brisbane Roar situation in that I don't know how much... Like, obviously, Zrilla's not done everything perfect. He's got some things wrong in terms of the way they've tried to play, etc. But it looks like this is a whole of club failure, in a sense, because the squad construction, total mismatch with the football, from what we can tell, the players that they've signed with the football they wanted to play, total mismatch. And then it just seems like on every level at the moment, Perth is struggling. So it's not, you can't just say this is because the coach has got no idea or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
it's a contributing factor that the coach has made some errors.
Yeah.
But I don't know, you can't put it all on Zrilla.
No. Look, new ownership comes in, they're going to put people into place. It is going to take them a little bit of time to adjust their feet. Maybe a little bit of inexperience, from in recent years in football with Stan Lazaridis, getting his feet back under the table. And you're right, I think the biggest problem that we can see from the players they have brought in is they don't seem to match whatsoever the way that we all thought that David Zrilic, or we all know the way he wants to play. You go through player for player and it's like, it doesn't match at all. And some of the foreigners they've brought in hadn't been playing as well. So you're like, well, they're so out of touch and underdone as well. That how can you say with their form and that is the player we want? I think they've got a lot of things wrong. But as I say, they're new owners. Hopefully they start to iron out all these kinks and they can start to adjust it really quickly because it's certainly been a baptism of fire for David Zrilic.
Yeah. Well, let's hear from him now. This is what he had to say after the game.
Firstly, we need to apologise to the fans and, everyone turned out is just not good enough. And, I know we've been speaking about things like this since the league started, but we didn't even give ourselves a chance to get into the game today. Those just early goals, and again, it's the same thing. It's just simple errors. I mean, even the missed kick goes straight to them, and then just too easy to cough up goals.
Are things going to get better for them? I mean, in January we're hearing there's going to be a fire sale, as much as you can have a fire sale if no one wants to buy your players. But they're going to try and get rid of some blokes, right? Or bring some new faces in. I mean, Are we seeing anything getting better if that happens, or are we just looking at this season at the moment and just being like, it is what it is, we'll see you next season and have another crack?
This is the other thing with Australian football is we have a salary cap. So you can't just go, right, all you guys leave, we're going to bring in a whole new crew, because now all of a sudden you have to start thinking about, well, that's taken up. Players aren't going to just go, do you know what, cut my wages and they'll go. They're going to say, pay me up, which eats into your salary cap as well. So it's not as cut and dried as maybe overseas where you can go, you guys aren't going to play. You can just sit over there and we'll bring in the next 15 players. I think this season is already a write-off for them, because I can't see so much wholesale change being made in the next window that it's going to have that much of a change. The only thing I can see is if maybe they get a couple of players that are really influential in certain positions, and Driller just goes, you know what, I'm going back to the other way. We're just going to go, whether we get beat or not, we're going to do what we're doing, and so that next year the players who are still here understand what we want to do, and we can fit the other ones around like a jigsaw piece.
Agree. Sydney FC though, Macca, from memory, in pre-season, just before the season started, I wrote an article for the SMH, and the heading was something like, you know, why Sydney FC are unbackable favourites to win the A-League this season. And I wasn't alone. Everyone else thought that.
Yeah.
And they still bloody might. Like, I'm not writing them off by any means. They got still, for me, top 1 or 2 squads. Their starting 11, when they've got everyone available, is about as good as it gets in this competition right now. But they've lost 4 of their last 6. And when you think about who they've beaten and who they haven't, they've only beaten Wanderers and Brisbane. Wanderers twice, and Brisbane. So they've beaten teams that, you know, we can all agree probably aren't much chop at the moment.
Yep.
And they're losing games like this one, when it came out in the fixture list. You're probably thinking, for a club the size of Sydney FC and the ambitions that they have, we're winning this. But they didn't. Why didn't they?
Well, go back to the start of the season, and I picked them to come first as well. And I, you know, all the plaudits, Klamala top goal scorer. I thought Waheem would be the best player, and I just said there was a little uncertainty over their back line with the way they play. The youngsters they've got at the back, if they're going to play this real aggressive high press, they're going to be left on their own at the back and isolated at times. And you can sit here and say, should Uffy just stick to his guns and play that way, or should he start looking and go, should he be a little bit more pragmatic? Should he, if he can't get a senior centre back in the window, or if that's what he's looking for, should he sit with 2 6s in front to protect his two centre backs? But they have a soft underbelly. They haven't kept a clean sheet. They're giving up goals that, you know, you probably shouldn't be giving up. And it seems like it's all about working on that going forward with the ball. Everything's with the ball and pressing high. It's what's happening when the teams get past that. And, that seems to be their big problem. And Adelaide, for me, is suited very, very well to make the most of that.
Yeah. The parallels with Ange at Tottenham at the moment are pretty clear. It's not like Sydney's defenders are missing, though, through injury like they are at Spurs. They just don't have any at the moment. And Tommy Orr a few weeks ago made the comparison of Uffy talking about his style and the way he wants to play, and I won't change, as Ange-esque. Well, this is the bit now where we find out how fair dinkum Ufuk Talay is. Ange has done this multiple times and it works for him. He's able to crash through. Ufuk, this is the test.
Yep.
Can you, if you are going to insist on playing this way, which I personally admire and think that's right for Sydney FC, they should be doing that. Can he pull it off, though, when you maybe don't have all the troops? Or can you find a way through the challenges when they present on the field, tactically, whatever? This is the turbulence. This is the period that Ange says he loves.
Yeah.
What does Uffy do here?
Well, this is where Ange said that, you know, the eye of the storm, isn't it? When all the stuff's going around, he knows what's going to be on the other side, the quietness when he can walk through. And this is what Uffy... Look, Uffy, I believe, is going, and I don't see any reason why not to, will stick to his guns. He'll say, this is the way I want to play. We need to just get better at the way we do it. He has had a little bit, like we all talked about how much he has with all those players they've got. They have been in and out. Costa's been in and out. Senna wasn't there on the weekend, who is his nominal number 6. So he wasn't there. So there have been a little bit of moving around of the squad like that, but they need to sort out this defensive frailty. If a team's going to press you, opposition will just play through the press. Just go and put the pressure on them at the back.
Uffy, after the match, said there were a couple of senior players. He didn't name anyone, but he was basically saying that there were players who he expects more of who are playing beneath themselves. I'm just wondering who you think he's talking about. And is it possible that he's talking even a little bit about Douglas Costa?
Potentially.
Because he has been in and out of the team with injury.
Yeah.
But we haven't had that moment yet where it's like, right, that's why you're a marquee. You won him that game, or you even scored him that goal. I think he's had a couple of assists, but it's not like he's taken a game by the scruff of the neck yet.
where we've all walked away and gone, no, exactly right. But sometimes a coach might do that with senior players anyway. And if you throw it out there, then every senior player will be going, is it you? Is it me? So then you all start to go, hey, we need to pick up our game here. So whether or not that is something behind that, or it's whether it's him just going, I'm going to give them a little kick up the backside and say, all right, all of you lift your game. It's not good enough.
Just quickly on Western United, credit to them, huge result for John Aloisi. We've been wondering what sort of team Western United are this season, but I don't know, they're very young, but it's working at the moment. Do they have the right blend that we were talking about earlier, do you think?
Do I think they've got the right blend to be up near the top? No. I think they're a very, very young team and probably could do with a couple of more senior players in there. But John Aloisi, for me, has done a really good job. They are really hard to beat, which is, we always say, that's if you can do that first, then you're halfway there. But he's bringing through these younger players. Like Leonard, 17-year-old at the back. You got Wallerty coming through, and he looks to me in the future like it could have a big future if all things go well for him. You got Angus Thurgate, who's been around a long time, but still only 24 years of age, who's buzzing around in the midfield. Botic, Ibasuki. I'll be honest, I tipped them to come last at the start of the year. I thought they'd have to be a team that soaks up pressure and goes, and I thought Ibasuki's not going to be that kind of player. He seems to be fitting in well and combining with his team as well. And that's just to name a few. I think he's doing a very good job with them. And if you look back to the game against Adelaide, where they should have had a penalty and it would have put them to 2-1 up, they'd be in the top. If they won that game, they'd be in the top 6 by now, and we might be talking a whole different way about them.
Totally. They got Auckland this weekend, and what an interesting game that'll be. They'll fancy them to maybe get something there.
Yeah, look, again, both teams who are very hard to break down, very hard to beat. So, look, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a draw in that game.
Yeah. Macca, mailbag time. First time we're reaching into the mailbag. Thanks to everyone for submitting their questions on the YouTube last week. Keep them coming. We'll do it again next show. But the one we've chosen this week, Macca, Wacko Jacko 1.
I like it already.
Sensational. Thank you very much. What is on your Christmas wish list for the A-League? You can start, Macca.
My Christmas wish list would be a complete round. So I would say a Canberra to come in and bring a crowd like Auckland have, and we have a complete set of a round again. Get rid of that bye.
Yeah. Mine is for a Queensland government / federal government commitment to rebuilding or renovating Perry Park. Brisbane Roar needs it desperately. Football needs it desperately to enliven the possibilities that there are in Queensland. For me, Queensland is the part of the game where there is the most untapped potential in Australian football. There's a lot of people up there who play a lot of football, and a lot of talented kids come out of there. They just need the right size stadium. There's a reason for it to be built as well relating to the Olympics, and there's a public process on at the moment. Tonight, I'm going to be going home and typing up my personal submission to this thing, and I encourage anyone who thinks this is a good idea to do the exact same thing, because with enough pressure, hopefully we can get it across the line. Well,
yeah. Look, anyone in Australian football knows that we need Perry Park, and to have Brisbane in there would be perfect. So get on and help get it done.
Aye. Extra time, Macca. Let's rip in. Starting off, goal celebrations in the A-League getting better or worse. We had some interesting ones on the weekend. A couple, I believe.
Lazy.
I don't have TikTok, but these guys do. This is apparently the cool guy meme, which I know what it is. I just don't find it.
Well, I can tell you which one I could do a lot easier. We could do a lot easier as the first and the third one, but the backflip, I'm not too sure.
What about that one?
Segatic, I think, went a little bit too early, and I quite liked Western United's socials that they've put that picture on with their players around saying still dreaming of the weekend. So obviously went way too early. I've been calling for more celebrations from not only individuals, but let's get some team ones back going again. I love a good celebration. Let's see the best ones out there.
Well, my favourite from the weekend, by the way, we didn't show it, was Michael Roos. That was a proper emotion, beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Happy to see it.
Well,
really
he
good.
burst into tears at the end of the game as well. He was that emotional. So it was good to see that he's that passionate, and it meant that much to him.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
Are Macarthur the hardest team to predict in the A-League? I don't know what they're doing week to week.
Yes, is a simple answer. 1 week they look like they could win 5-0. The next week you're thinking they're not going to score a goal. Mile Sturjovski has said pretty early on in the season that consistency is probably their main problem. And that's not just from week to week, it's in matches as well. They sometimes they'll create chances and score them. Other times they just can't find the back of the net whatsoever. So on my tipping, I'm not doing too well when I go for Macarthur. I'm all over the place.
Yeah. You mentioned Abel Wallerty before. How excited should we be about him? How big is his future potentially?
I reckon when he starts to play 80, 90 minutes week in, week out, and he gets used to that, because he is fading in games at the moment, but I love the way that he uses not only is he fast, dynamic and strong, but he knows how to use his body too. The amount of times that I've seen him in the last couple of weeks get his body across and get his butt in the way of defender. Ryan Grant must have been sick of him. He might have bruises all over him, where he'd get his butt and his arm out, feel him, and then use his contact to roll him, and then that explosive speed. But he also seems to have the ability to, when he gets into the right position, to pick the right pass and put a ball into a good area. I'm looking forward to seeing his career develop.
What I love about him, aside from his ability, obviously, is that he's from Western Melbourne.
Yeah.
That's his hood.
Local
so
boy.
he can be, I'm not saying he's going to be Nesta, but the way that Adelaide got excited about Nesta Irankunda, hopefully Western Melbourne and that part of Tarneet as well gets behind this kid, because he's theirs, and that's what it's all about for me. Brandon Borello's knuckleball free kick, Macca, was this a piece of wizardry, or was this just bad goalkeeping?
I like to try to look on the positive. I'm going to have to go. It moved a little bit. I just think he got it wrong, Macklin, completely wrong. And I think when he looks back, he'll be saying, "Don't show me."
Yeah, you're probably right. All right, Macca, that does us. That's our last show for the year as well. It's been a pleasure. I don't know, you probably won't be back here, but I'll see you in the green room.
You're happy about that, aren't you?
Yeah, look, I don't mind. You're all right. No, it's been good. Thanks to everyone for watching. We'll see you in 2025 as well. Take it easy.
Have a good Chrissy.